Do you think living trusts are just for the ultra wealthy? Think again. What if a simple revocable living trust could take care of everything you have, big or small? And what if it could also save keeping all the family drama out of the courtroom and safeguard your privacy and make sure that your legacy is fulfilled exactly the way you want? In this video, I'll show you why living trusts aren't just for millionaires, and I'll show you how you can continue to control your legacy long after you're gone. And stick around till the end because I'll show you that the trust actually can be used to help take care of some of your most beloved possessions, maybe your cats or your dogs. Now, before we get started, we have to identify what is a living trust really. Simply put, a living trust is a document that you create during your lifetime that has property rights. By establishing a living trust, you can name a trustee that could step in and make sure and handle your affairs in the event you become incapacitated or end up passing away. But wait, isn't there something called a will that does the same thing? That's true, but compared to a will, a living trust is much more flexible and has way more privacy. Unlike a will, a living trust does not go through a public probate court. Living trusts are private and personal, away from court battles and prying eyes. The other great part is that you can revoke that trust or amend the trust whenever you want to. That's why many people refer to it as a revocable living trust. Now, I don't know about you, but if I can stay out of court and keep my family drama out of court, I would consider that an advantage. Not only will the entire public know everything that's going on with your estate, but now it's going to be an expensive process that will require you to hire lawyers in order to make sure things are done properly. With a living trust, there are no court hearings or permissions that have to be granted in order for your trustee to gain access to your property and administer the estate. Translation: fewer legal fees, fewer delays, and less stress on your family. One of the core benefits of a living trust is that you can normally avoid probate court. Many people come to me and ask, Jeff, but I think a will would be easier. They don't recognize that by using a will, you open yourself up to scrutiny. If you have to go in front of a probate court, now not only is everything in public record, but it means that your entire estate could be open to scrutiny, and now you could have some greedy cousin or second or third cousin showing up claiming that they have a right to your estate, and your estate could be facing a will contest. All of this adds up to expensive legal fees, long court battles, and more costs. With a living trust, it's quicker, it's seamless, it's private, and you don't have to worry about paying lawyers so much of your estate. Benefit number 2 of a living trust is you get to control your legacy beyond the grave. When you set up a living trust, you can place conditions upon how and when your relatives receive their inheritance. Whether it's money, whether it's a treasured home that you have, or maybe a vintage car collection, you can place conditions on how your relatives receive this actual inheritance through a concept we like to call carrots and sticks. You know the old example that if you want to lead a horse in a direction, if you dangle the carrot out in front of them, they'll follow you wherever you want to go. The same can be said through the process of the living trust. For example, maybe you're going to put a condition that your child must finish college before they would ever receive their share. Another common provision might be where an heir is not able to actually receive the distribution of funds if they are currently experiencing a substance abuse problem. Another good example of this is to spread out large inheritances. Sometimes you have to be careful. One of the worst things you could possibly do is to give an 18-year-old millions of dollars. By using a living trust, you can use mechanisms where perhaps they receive a portion of their inheritance at 20, and then later at 25, later at 30, and then maybe later at 35. This approach teaches that child or that young adult financial responsibility, and it also maybe helps them from blowing it all at one time. Listen, it's a sad fact, but money can unintentionally ruin relationships, particularly if someone receives a large sum of money before they're ready for it. A well-structured trust can prevent heartbreak, and it can help ensure that your hard-earned assets are truly a blessing and not a burden to your heirs. Benefit number 3 to a living trust is that it is an ideal instrument to help you plan for incapacity. We often focus on death planning, but what if you're still alive, but you're unable to take care of your affairs? Accidents, Illnesses, or maybe just simply aging, can lead to a temporary and sometimes permanent inability for you to be able to handle your finances or your affairs. A living trust spells out exactly who has the authority to step in and write checks and pay the bills for not only your rental properties, but all the other assets you need to keep up with. It also pairs beautifully with two other types of instruments you should consider. One would be a healthcare directive. It's important for your doctors to know how you want your healthcare to be distributed to you and what your wishes would be. And number two, it also pairs beautifully with your financial powers of attorney. So that way the individual who is responsible for taking care of your financial affairs will know exactly what their responsibilities are and what control they have. By preparing now, you not only protect yourself, but you spare your loved ones the legal and emotional chaos of trying to figure all of this out on the fly. Benefit number 4, a living trust is a comprehensive estate plan, not just a trust. I want you to think of your living trust as the main character in the movie that also pairs perfectly with the supporting cast. What are those supporting cast documents? Number 1, Pourover Will. If you already have a will in place, before you set up your trust, you can literally pour over your wishes into the new trust. So that way it really grabs everything and anything you might have forgotten and incorporates it into your trust. Number 2, your financial power of attorney. This allows you to make sure you empower someone to handle your financial affairs that are not incorporated with the trust. Number 3, we've already mentioned your healthcare directive. Many people refer to this as your living will, and this is important so that in the event you're incapacitated, doctors and medical staff know exactly what you want to happen. Number 4, a personal property memo. This is important because you may have certain personal property that you have certain desires and wishes for. And in this memo, it can be incorporated into the living trust, and this can cover everything from collectibles, maybe jewelry, and maybe even those special pets. Creating all these documents together gives you a complete estate plan. The trust might handle the big stuff, your house, your investments, your business, but then you can have these other supporting cast of documentation to cover your medical and other financial affairs so that it all works together as a comprehensive package. For example, maybe you have a minor or a special needs child. Without a trust, that child might receive their entire inheritance at the age of 18. That's probably not a very good idea. With the trust, the guardian and the trustee actually maintain and administer the distribution of those funds over a period of time. And remember, if it's a minor during that period of time, that minor, there can be expenses covered for their general welfare, their safety, the maintenance requirements needed, but they're not getting a blank check all at one time. Another example would be any heirs that might be currently in financial trouble. Inheriting money when you're in debt or facing lawsuits can be disastrous. A trust with creditor protection clauses can help push back possible creditors until the issue is resolved. Finally, aging parents. Adults often say, I have no idea what my mother's final wishes are, and I have no idea where her assets are. A living trust forces you or your family to organize everything and make sure everything is in order so that there's no confusion. By now, we all know that a living trust is more than just a rich person's tool. Don't let procrastination or the fear of something legal hold you back from this. Here's the reality. The cost of setting up a living trust is so much less than the cost of paying probate fees and hiring lawyers to get stuck in court. And if you're thinking, there's no way I can handle all of this alone, that's why it's important at this point to consult an expert attorney that can help walk you through this process. If you want to get started with making sure your living trust is set up to protect your family legacy, look down in the description below, and I provide you an opportunity to set up a free consultation. Now, we just covered how a living trust can make all the difference in the world with your family estate. But what if attorneys show up, greedy lawyers show up, trying to sue you, taking away all of your assets? Is asset protection just for the rich and famous? Check out this next video where I break down 10 myths about asset protection and find out if your assets are at risk. See you over there.